Okay. You know who is Krishna, right? Radha Krishna. So, Krishna appeared in this world to give three things. He says in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna appeared to restore the teachings, dharma, sangsthapanartaya. When teachings become broken, he comes to restore those teachings. Dharma, sangstha. And he comes to annihilate demons and to protect the devotees. And the way in which, one of the principal ways in which Krishna restored Dharma, or the teachings of spiritual knowledge, is by speaking Bhagavad Gita. Very important understanding to receive what is the meaning of Bhagavad Gita. And the concluding teaching of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is what? Huh? Yeah, say it slowly and clearly. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yashyami masuchaha. Which means all other forms of Dharma, he's come to restore Dharma, and all other forms of Dharma are subservient to one thing. What's that one thing? Mam ekam sharanam. Mam ekam sharanam means to surrender to me. Eka, surrender to me alone. And after performing all of his pastimes, Krishna departed this world, returned to the spiritual world. And after he returned to the spiritual world, he began to consider, now that I've left this world, Kali Yuga has begun. And in this dark age of Kali, people are not going to know how to surrender unto me alone. So I need to show them or explain to them how to. And what could be a better way than if I come myself and show them how to. So that's who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself in the complexion of Radharani, in golden complexion, and in the mood of Srimati Radharani also. But he is Krishna himself teaching how to give oneself fully to Krishna, to Krishna's service. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared roughly 500 years ago, maybe 500 now, 550 years ago. And today is the disappearance day of his guru. Because even Krishna had guru. Who was Krishna's teacher? You know his name? Sandipani Muni? You've heard his name before? Sandipani Muni was Krishna's teacher. So, Lord Chaitanya's teacher or guru was Ishwara Puri. And today is the disappearance day of Ishwara Puri. And so I wanted to speak something about him in honor of him. And also because speaking about Ishwara Puri means speaking about Lord Chaitanya. As you likely know, in approximately 2 weeks or so, the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya comes, Gaura Purnima. Nice day, nice festival day. So this comes, the appearance day of his spiritual master, or disappearance day is what we're honoring today. So Ishwara Puri was a Vaishnava sannyasi. As you see in the background, there's a sannyas danda. He accepted the order of sannyas and took on the surname Puri. According to the practice at the time, there was either 8 or 10 lines of sannyas, and depending upon one's sannyas guru, one would accept that title that goes along with that line of sannyas. So he became Ishwara Puri. And he was born in a place not in Navadvip. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born in Navadvip in West Bengal. But not far from where Mahaprabhu was born is a place called Kumarahata. And Kumarahata is a place that many Vaishnavas during his time very much appreciated. For example, many of you were chanting along with me. We have this Panchatattva mantra. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas, Adi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. That's 5 names. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, then going this way, Prabhu Nityananda, one more, Sri Advaita, then back this way, Gadadhar, and Srivas. Srivas was a grahasta. He had several brothers. They lived in like an extended family situation. All the brothers and their wives and the children and everybody lived like an extended family situation in Navadvip. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we'll hear about it shortly, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began his pastimes as a Vaishnav, they all went together to the house of Srivas and performed Sankirtan. Hundreds of devotees. It wasn't just a house, it was a big project with boundary walls and etc. So they would have large kirtan every night. After work, come and have kirtan, and went all night long. Into the morning, they would take their morning bath and start their next day. Tireless Sankirtan. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he left Navadvip. And when he left Navadvip, Srivas Pandit, he couldn't bear to see the place where Lord Chaitanya had performed his pastimes before taking sannyas, so he left. And he went to Kumarahata. It was a celebrated place where Mahaprabhu's spiritual master came from. Later, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also visited that place, Kumarahata, and he took some dust from the place. He kept it in a cloth, and little by little he took a little bit of dust, a little bit of dust, a little bit of dust. So it became known that Mahaprabhu had taken some earth from Kumarahata. So many people came and took some earth and became like a lake, a big hole in the ground. And they filled it up with water. And so it's celebrated even today as Doba, like a man-made lake. Just the result of people doing what Mahaprabhu did, to respect the earth in the place where his spiritual master was born. Ishwara Puri, working properly. Ishwara Puri had a celebrated spiritual master. His celebrated spiritual master was Madhavendra Puri. So I'm going to, when the computer starts cooperating again, to show you his picture. His name is Madhavendra Puri. This is his picture. Madhavendra Puri was also a sannyasi, but he was on the topmost platform of devotional service. He was on the topmost platform of devotional service. Okay. Topmost platform is, the word that goes with it is Paramahamsa. Parama means supreme, and Hamsa means swan. So he was on the, his practice was, here's how the stages of sannyas go. One who is living as a householder may, for some years, live as vanaprastha, and they retire from the active duties of family life, and then at a certain stage they may take sannyas. And when that traditionally would take place, there would be 4 stages. They would build a little cottage outside of their village, and every day someone from the village would come and bring them some alms, and that would be their meal. They would do that for some time. Kotichak, it's called. Then that would terminate, and he would go to the village and just beg alms from people in the village. Kotichak, Bahudak. Then he would stop that and just travel with no fixed place of residence. Paribrajakachari, who would walk and travel and move around the whole country. And same, he would accept alms from people. That was his maintenance, and whatever would come, that's what would come, and that's what he accepted, offered to Krishna, and that's how he maintained himself and study and teach as he traveled. The final stage is this Paramahamsa stage, where Madhavendra Puri lived. He wouldn't perform madhukari. He wouldn't go from door to door and ask people whatever you would like to give as a donation for my alms, for my maintenance. He would, if someone came and brought him something, he would eat or he would accept. And otherwise he would fast. Today people would not survive, but during that time people were a little more cultured, and that was what the Paramahamsa sannyasis would do. So one time, in the course of his life, he was traveling in Vrindavan. He happened to be by Govindakund. Govindakund is a very nice place. Some of you may have been there. It's along the side of Govardhan Hill. Maybe you two young girls, one day you'll go to Vrindavan. Wouldn't it be nice? One day you go to Vrindavan. And when you go to Vrindavan, I'm sure your parents will take you to Govardhan Hill. And when you go to Govardhan Hill, you'll walk around. It takes most of the day, half a day at least, to walk all around Govardhan Hill. And one of the places around on the east side of Govardhan Hill, about halfway, almost halfway, a little bit more than halfway, is Govindakund. And this is a painting indicating Madhavendra Puri was seated beneath a tree by the side of Govindakund, and he hadn't eaten in 3 days because no one came and brought him anything, so he was just fasting. And a little cowherd boy, as you see from the painting who that cowherd boy is, but a little cowherd boy came and said, the ladies that were busy milking cows saw that you were sitting here probably fasting. They asked me to bring this pot of milk for you. So it's a little clay pot, and Madhavendra Puri asked, how did you know I was fasting? He said, in our village, it's a policy. No one will fast. Where do we all get settled? Something happened with my computer and I have to redo something. We're all together. I just had a little computer crash and I'm repairing something because of that. So be patient with me, please. Okay. Well, it's not fully repaired, but it's a little bit better. Okay. So welcome all of you that just came. I'm honoring the disappearance day of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual master, Ishwara Puri. So we spent some time for their younger folks here to explain who is Lord Chaitanya. And do you all know who is Lord Chaitanya? No? Yes, a little bit? A little bit? Okay. So Ishwara Puri is the name of Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master. And Lord Chaitanya and Ishwara Puri's spiritual master is Madhavendra Puri. And I'm narrating how Madhavendra Puri met Krishna. Krishna came to him. He was on pilgrimage to holy places. Madhavendra Puri went, among other places, he went to Vrindavan. When he was in Vrindavan, he was circumambulating around Govardhan Hill. And one place in Govardhan Hill that he stopped for the afternoon, pictured here, is Govindakund. And as he was sitting there, a young cowherd boy came, who was Krishna, but he didn't recognize him. The painting makes it really clear who he was, but he didn't make it really clear who he was. And he said, the cowherd boy said, the ladies, there's a policy in this village that no one will go hungry. So the ladies during milking time, they requested me to bring this pot of milk to you. So he was very pleased. The young boy was very beautiful and charming. And he said, I have to go now. It's time to take care of the cows. I'll come back and pick up the pot later when it's empty. Clay pot. And as he was drinking the milk, it wasn't ordinary milk, it was ambrosial. And he began feeling symptoms of ecstasy just drinking the milk. So then he understood this wasn't just a cowherd boy. This was something extraordinary. Maybe it was Krishna. Although he's a great devotee, Krishna was concealing his identity. by his spiritual potencies. So he couldn't tell for sure when he came. That night, as he was dozing off, the cowherd boy appeared in his dream. Same cowherd boy. He said, "You're right. I am Krishna. I am the one who brought you that milk. And in my deity form, I've been waiting for you for a long, long time to come. I knew you would come. When there was some invading soldiers, the pujaris hid my deity form in the bushes. And I'd like you to come and excavate where I am and then resume my worship, because you're such a dear devotee. So you're so devoted to me." So that same deity later became, what in India today is Srinathji, Gopal. Gopal, before he was Srinathji, was Gopal. And so, sure enough, when he woke up, he went with some local people. He went exactly to the place where Gopal had told him his deity form was. They chopped through the brushes and found the deity. And there's an elaborate description, wonderful description, of how the deity worship was restored. A long description, which isn't the main focus for this evening. And he then placed the deity on a hill. And he said that just as happened at the time of Krishna's lifting Govardhan hill, he said there should be an anukut, meaning ask the villagers to make all kinds of cooked foods and I'll make an offering to the deity. And it was so wonderful that the nearby village had said, "Can we do the same thing tomorrow?" And the next village, it went on for a month. Village after village after village, they just brought massive amounts of cooked food. Madhavendra Puri made the offerings to Gopal, and it was a big, big festival. So after some time, there's more to the story. The more to the story is the deity of Gopal again appeared to him in a dream. It's a nice story. It's the longer version is wonderful. The deity said, this summertime, my body is becoming very hot. I'd like you to bring some camphor and sandalwood and smear it on my body during the summer season. And at that time, the best place to get sandalwood and camphor was in Jagannath Puri. To go from Vrindavan to Jagannath Puri is a long journey. No railroad, no airplanes, walk. He began the journey, long story. He ended up north of Puri, north of Jagannath Puri, is a place called Ramuna. When he was visiting Ramuna, there's a deity of Gopinath, and he heard that this deity, Gopinath, they offer a wonderful, wonderful cure. It would be really nice just to be able to taste the cure, then I can make that nice cure for my deity, Gopal. And then he thought, oh no, what am I doing? I'm thinking about tasting the cure even before it's offered. I'm an offender. So he stayed for the arti and he left. He went into the marketplace, because the shops were all closed up at night, and took rest under a tree. The pujari of the Gopinath deity had a dream and told him in the dream, I stole some sweet rice. I stole some kheer. You didn't notice it, but I want you to get up right now, take your bath, and come, and you'll find it behind my cloth. And this kheer is for Madhavendra Puri. He's in the marketplace taking rest. Deliver this kheer to him. The pujari woke up, took his bath, put on clean cloth, went into the altar, looked behind the cloth of the deity, there was the cure. So he went out into the marketplace, calling, Madhavendra Puri, where are you? You are the greatest recipient of the mercy of Gopinath, Madhavendra Puri. You're so fortunate. Who are you? Where are you? He woke up and he accepted the cure. And he tasted it. It was ecstatic. And then he left that night because he thought people will hear about this and I'll become a celebrated person. So he left. He didn't want celebrity. Most people want fame and celebrity. He didn't want. So this painting is just to say, who is Madhavendra Puri? In the later stages of his life, Madhavendra Puri entered into a very deep state of absorption in devotion in the mood of the gopis. Now, Madhavendra Puri was initiated in the line of Madhvacharya. Now, our younger people don't know any of this, but Madhvacharya is a great, stalwart Vaishnav from Udupi, South India. And Madhavendra Puri was in the line of Madhvacharya, in this Diksha line. And Madhavendra Puri awoke something that was not previously well known in his line, which was the mood of Vrindavan, the love of Krishna, and the gopis for Krishna in Vrindavan. So during the final months of his life or some period of time, he was a chantra or a prayer, a stotra, again and again and again and again. And it's a celebrated stotra. I'm going to show it to you in a moment. It says that this stotra, this prayer, was the seed of the ecstatic love of the residents of Vrindavan for Krishna. It's Braja Prem specifically, or Madhurya Prem, the love of the gopis. Here's the verse. Aidina Dayadra Nata He, Mathura Nata Kadava Lokshase, Hridayam Tvad Aloka Kataram Dayata Brahmyati Kim Karom Yaham. O my Lord, O most merciful Master, O Master of Mathura, when shall I see you again? Because of not seeing you, my agitated heart has become unsteady. O most beloved one, what shall I do now? It's love and separation. It's an essential part of the teaching of the kind of love the residents of Vrindavan had, because Krishna was performing his childhood pastimes and then left. And they didn't see him again for a long time. And all the while, they were experiencing love and separation. There's a name for it, Vipralamba Bhav, love and separation. So Madhavendra Puri was developing the seed that later became a tree. The seed of devotional service next fructified in the form of Sri Ishvara Puri. So we're discussing the life of Ishwara Puri. So Ishwara Puri was the disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri awoke this love of the residents of Vrindavan in separation from Krishna and passed it on to his disciple Ishwara Puri. So Madhavendra Puri had the seed then fructified as a tree in the form of Ishwara Puri. And then next in the line of disciplic succession, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he distributed the fruits of that tree. Or love in the mood of the residents of Vrindavan feeling separation from Krishna. A certain mood, certain bhava, a certain kind of ecstasy. We're anticipating meeting Krishna. When will I meet Krishna? What should I do now? I don't see Krishna. what to do. It's a loving sentiment. So that's Ishwara Puri passed that on to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu distributed it. Here's a little section about his life, Madhavendra Puri. At the last stage of his life, Sri Madhavendra Puri became an invalid and was completely unable to move. And Ishwara Puri, who we're honoring today, so completely engaged himself in his service that he personally cleaned up his stool and urine, always chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and reminding Sri Madhavendra Puri about the pastimes of Lord Krishna. In the last stage of his life, Ishwara Puri gave the best service among his disciples. Thus, Madhavendra Puri, being very pleased with him, blessed him, saying, "My dear boy, I can only pray to Krishna that he will be pleased with you." Thus, Ishwara Puri, by the grace of his spiritual master, Sri Madhavendra Puri, became a great devotee in the ocean of love of God. So, this is a quote directly taken from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is about a life of Lord Chaitanya. So that spotlight is now going to Ishwara Puri, and how Ishwara Puri became so exalted, and how Madhavendra Puri became so exalted. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a recipient. It says, from that time onward, Ishwara Puri became an ocean of love for Krishna. So one of the things that Ishwara Puri did, which is similar to what Madhavendra Puri did, which is similar to what sannyasis would do, they would go from holy place to holy place, stay for some time, speak Krishna Katha, meet with the devotees there, take prasad from the holy place, move to the next holy place, etc. So Ishwara Puri did like that, and one of the places he went to was very near to where Mahaprabhu appeared. At this time, Mahaprabhu was a young student, perhaps the age of you or this young boy over here, your son. Young. He's Nimai Pandit. That's how he was known. So Ishwara Puri stopped at Shantipur, which is a short distance away from Navadvip, and there he met Advaitacharya. Now, Advaitacharya was also given Diksha by Madhavendra Puri. So they were godbrothers. Same Diksha Guru. They were godbrothers. How it happened that Advaitacharya received Diksha, I mentioned earlier. Madhavendra Puri was making a visit to Jagannath Puri to get camphor and sandalwood. On the way, he stopped in Shantipur. He met Advaitacharya. Advaitacharya was so moved by Madhavendra Puri's spiritual qualification, he took shelter and received mantra diksha, as did Ishwara Puri. So now the two exalted persons met. They spent wonderful time together, and all the while, because he's a sannyasi, he doesn't stay in one place. He kept moving. He went to Navadvip, and he was involved in composition. Krishna Bhavanamrita was the title of his book, written in Sanskrit. And as he would travel, he would relish it and share those teachings with others. He didn't have they weren't book publishers at that time. It was wherever people had copies, it was handwritten copies. But he was just tasting and sharing the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes. So when he went to Navadvip, he met a young student named Gadadhar. So we did this again. I did this before, we'll do it again. The five main associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu starts with Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Next, Prabhu Nityananda. Next, Sri Advaita. Next, going to the other direction, Gadadhar. So Gadadhar at that time was about the same age of Nimai Pandit or Lord Chaitanya, nearly the same age. And he was very renounced from childhood and very attracted to Ishwara Puri. And so Ishwara Puri was happy to share his teachings with this young, bright, spiritually oriented young Gadadhar. And together they would sit together and he would recite, and Gadadhar was enthusiastic to hear. One day they were walking along the bank of the Ganga, and at a distance there was Nimai Pandit with his students, because although he was young, he was so qualified, his teacher made him a teacher, teaching grammar, Sanskrit grammar. So they were under a tree in a shady place by the side of the Ganges, and Ishwara Puri saw him off in the distance and said, "Who's that?" He said, "Oh, that's my friend. That's Nimai. He's a very celebrated scholar in Sanskrit." And Ishwara Puri asked, "Could you introduce him to me?" Or introduce him to me. So as soon as Ishwara Puri came, there you see his Krishna Karnamrita in his hand, or Bhavanamrita. Nimai touched his feet. He was a young Brahmin teacher, seeing an exalted sannyasi. He's offering the proper respect. And he requested him, "My mother, Sachi, would be very happy to offer lunch to you. Could you come to my home? You can take our meal at my home, or my mother's home." And so he agreed. And so it's starting the relationship of respect, and then dadati, pratigranati, offering bhunkte bhojayate, offering some nice foods to eat. So Mother Sachi was very happy, and he received Ishwara Puri in his home. And Ishwara Puri, knowing, because he heard from Gadadhar and heard that he was a celebrated scholar, although he's young, celebrated scholar, he said, "I understand you're really, really good with Sanskrit grammar. So could you read over my manuscript, hear it from me, and if you see some mistake, something that needs to be corrected, you can inform me?" And Nimai Pandit was known for being really into finding mistakes in people's writings and their speaking, and he was a grammarian. And here's from Chaitanya Bhagavat what he said: "Anyone who finds any faults with the devotee's description of Krishna is a sinner. If a devotee writes a poem, no matter how poorly he does it, it will certainly contain his love for Krishna." Who says Vishnaya, while the scholar knows the correct form is Vishnave. But Krishna accepts the sentiment in either case. If anyone sees a fault in this, the fault is his. For Krishna is pleased with anything the pure devotee says. You too describe the Lord with words of love, so what arrogant person would dare criticize anything you have written? But, so there was a humble expression. Ishwara Puri was insisting, well, it's okay. In any composition, there may be some mistakes. So by repeating his request, Nimai agreed. So together, the two personalities spend an hour or two every day discussing. Here's the title of the book, Krishna Lilamrita, and other topics. So Nimai had a reputation of being really good at debate. And he would debate, he would pick an argument. I mean, there's details about Nimai, but or about Ishwara Puri. No one could defeat him. Sometimes he would challenge people. Sometimes he would challenge Gadadhar and he'd say, "Leave me alone. I'm not interested in this." And then he would pursue it and pursue it and pursue it, get him to say something and then refute it. And say, I'm going to make a statement, I want you to refute my statement. He said, I can't refute your statement. Then he would refute his statement and make another statement, now refute that statement. He can't refute it, so he refute that statement and go back to the first one and restore the first one. It was, scholarship, but without, it was purposeful. It's part of his lila to show scholarship is limited. Through scholarship, you can't approach transcendence. There's always, room, margin for, anyway. So that was his reputation as a young Sanskrit grammarian. One day, for pastime purposes, he heard a verse from Ishwara Puri's book, and he, in a sporting mood, said the dhatu, the verbal root is wrong. It should be this, it shouldn't be that. And Ishwara Puri said, let me consider. And some days later, Ishwara Puri said, you haven't accepted it, but I accept it. And that was it. It was the first time, and maybe the last time, that Nimai Pandit was defeated, and he was happy to be defeated in a debate or an argument with Ishwara Puri. We don't hear much about Ishwara Puri because after some time staying, some weeks, doesn't say exactly how long he stayed in Navadvip, he moved on, because that's what he did as a sannyasi. The next time we hear about Ishwara Puri is during the event of Nimai Pandit honoring the departure of his father. He went to perform Shraddha at Gaya. So this is a painting showing the lotus foot of Lord Vishnu, and seeing the lotus foot print of Lord Vishnu, he was feeling symptoms of ecstasy. And that was his first stop at Gaya. Now the procedure, he followed the standard procedure. There's a number of temples and a number of rituals and a number of this and that's that one is to do. And he did them all. And for the entire day, he was fasting. When he completed everything, he went to the little place where he was staying and he began to cook. And when he began to cook, it just happened that Ishwara Puri came right at that time. He was happy to see, I haven't seen you in so long. And he understood why he was there. And immediately, Mahaprabhu offered, the cooking is done. This is the perfect timing. Please accept. And because of his love, Ishwara Puri accepted the food that was cooked by Mahaprabhu, and later he cooked again for himself. And on the next day, Ishwara Puri gave him mantra diksha. And that's what we hear about Ishwara Puri for quite some time. After receiving mantra diksha, a detail is Nimai, before he received mantra, he spoke the mantra to Ishwara Puri. And Ishwara Puri then spoke the mantra to Nimai. In other words, it's a lila because he's the personality of Godhead, Krishna. We spoke about this in the very beginning. So Ishwara Puri became his Diksha Guru. We're nearly ending. Towards the end of his life, Ishwara Puri had two celebrated disciples. They were named Kashishwara and Govinda. Kashishwara Pandit and Govinda. And so now the situation is Nimai Pandit is initiated by Ishwara Puri. Some time passed when he was just 24 years of age. he accepted the order of sannyas from the Bharati sannyasi, Keshava Bharati. And after sannyas, he went to stay in Puri at his mother's request. He wanted to go to Vrindavan. His mother said, if you go to Vrindavan, I may never hear of you again. Please don't do that. Krishna is also in Puri. Go to Puri. Because every year the devotees from Bengal go to attend Rath Yatra. And then when they come back, I'll get some news. How is my son doing? And maybe you'll come to the Ganga to take bath in the Ganga. And when you come to take bath in the Ganga, then I can see you directly. So please go to Puri. So he went to Puri. And he resided in Puri for some time. And while residing in Puri, one of the first things he did, you see in this painting, is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was the learned scholar who was the chief priest of the king, Prataparudra. And he had thousands of students, very, very scholarly person. So there's details and details. It's in this story, in the painting. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, you're young, your features are very beautiful. It's going to be very difficult for you to maintain sannyas. If you'd like, I can train you in Vedanta Sutra. He doesn't need training in Vedanta Sutra, but he made that offer. So now Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's no longer Nimai Pandit, he's a sannyasi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted his offer, and for 7 days, morning till night, 7 days, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is giving teachings on Vedanta Sutra. Super scholar, giving teachings to a young sannyasi. And he didn't say anything. In the 8th morning, he said, you don't say anything. I don't know if you're understanding or not understanding. Can you say something? And Mahaprabhu said, I can very easily understand Vedanta Sutra, but as you're describing it, it's covering the meaning more and more. Really? So if you think you understand Vedanta Sutra, you explain it to me. It's right in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The explanation is very simple and very pure and very elevated. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, I'd never heard this before. This is really wonderful. Because he wasn't proud. He was a super scholar, just hadn't heard a devotional rendering of Vedanta Sutra. So he said, you spoke so nicely. Can you speak on this celebrated verse from Srimad Bhagavatam called the Atmarama verse? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you're such a scholarly person. I'd like to hear you explain it. Very well. I'll explain it in 16 different ways. And he went on. And he said, now can you explain it? And Mahaprabhu explained it in 64 different ways. And he was so moved. His scholarship wasn't just scholarship. He was actually an elevated person. And he said, you're not just a sannyasi. You're the personality of Godhead. I can understand that from your descriptions. The painting shows Lord Chaitanya smiled and showed him a 6-armed form. 6-armed form means Krishna holding his flute, Ram holding bow and arrows, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself holding a danda and kamandalu, a water pot. 6-armed form, celebrated. So much later, just before the departure from this world of Ishwara Puri, he sent 2 of his disciples to go and serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when they came, said, this isn't right. I can't receive service from a godbrother, but it's the order of my spiritual master. So what to do? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, what should I do? And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, what you spoke is correct. It's against etiquette that you take service from a peer, from your godbrothers. However, on the other hand, the order of the spiritual master is so strong, it overrides even etiquette. So you must, because it's the order of the spiritual master. And so he did. He accepted their service, and they played a very important role, particularly Govinda, well, both of them, because Ishwara Pandit. So this is the conclusion of what I have to say about Ishwara Puri. We'll go back to the beginning for those of you that weren't with us in the beginning. That's a painting of Ishwara Puri. That's his sannyas danda in the background. And he was a Brahmana sannyasi, a disciple of Madhavendra Puri and the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we're honoring him on Disappearance Day. And one of the natural things that happens when you honor a great personality is you remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who they're representing. In this case, the representing is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was his disciple, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the personality of Godhead. It's something like Sandipani Muni. Because you know, I'm looking at you because you know who is Sandipani Muni. At least you nodded your head before. Sandipani Muni was Krishna's teacher. When Krishna went to school, he attended the school of Sandipani Muni. And in the course of his attending the school of Sandipani Muni came to understand that his student was the personality of Godhead. There's no question of teaching someone who's the personality of Godhead. So much so that Sandipani Muni, when Krishna said, I've completed my studies, Balaram and I are ready to go back to Mathura, but before we go, we'd like to offer some dakshin in gratitude for the teachings you've given. So what dakshin would you like? And Sandipani Muni looked at his wife and said, one of our sons recently drowned in the sea. Could you bring him back? So Krishna did. It's a nice, some details, but he went to the sea personified came, Samudra came, and he said, yeah, Krishna wanted to know, where's Sandipani Muni's son? This conch demon swallowed him. So if you find the conch demon, you might find his son. So Krishna dove into the sea, found the conch demon, but the conch demon, his son was not there in his body. So he went to the abode of Yamaraj. Krishna went to the abode of Yamaraj. There's a beautiful painting. Yamaraj is there with folded palms. Yes, what would you like? Because Krishna blew his conch shell. The same conch shell of the demon that was supposedly the one that had swallowed Krishna. Yamaraj came immediately. Yes, some service. What can I do? Can you give me this, return to me the son of Sandipani Muni? Yes. And so Krishna brought the son of Sandipani Muni back. Now, we wouldn't even know the name of Sandipani Muni if it wasn't for his being the teacher. Krishna and Balaram. He's a celebrated person because of that. So in a similar way, Ishwara Puri, not just he was an ordinary fellow, but the specialness of hearing about him is his connection with, on the one end, his spiritual master, Madhavendra Puri, and on the other end, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his disciple. So he's a very special personality. Many very special personalities, but today is his disappearance day, and so we're honoring him. And it's a warm-up for Lord Chaitanya's appearance day, which is coming in about 2 weeks. So let's see if there's some discussion. Any comments or questions about what we heard? Behind you? Hare Krishna.
Krishna Maharaj.
There we go.
Krishna Maharaj, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Very nice lecture. Just a quick question. So, why didn't Ishwara Puri?
Why which?
Why did not Ishwara Puri
Yeah.
meet Mahaprabhu after giving initiation, or the other way? Why didn't Mahaprabhu?
Well, Ishwara Puri was a sannyasi. And what sannyasis do, generally speaking, is they travel. They don't stay in one place. They stay for some days, and then they travel. Now, there's other examples where one takes kshatriya sannyas, and that is, there's a vow to not travel, but to stay in the holy place. But he traveled. That was his program. So he gave, and then, we don't hear about their meeting again, which is what your question is. Neither did Lord Chaitanya go to Ishwara Puri, nor did Ishwara Puri go to Lord Chaitanya. It's just a pastime that he was traveling and doing what a sannyasi will do. And one could say he could have gone back again to Puri, because that's a holy place, and seen his disciple in Puri. But he didn't, and you want to know why he didn't. It wasn't part of the pastime.
Maharaj, I heard about that, like Ishwara Puri, he knew that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord.
Yes.
So this is why, like, he didn't want to initiate Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya himself gave the mantra to Ishwara Puri. So
it's not like he didn't want to. It's not like that. He had an understanding, and he's being requested and petitioned sincerely by one who has served him, and he's accepted the service. The cooking and the holding his feet. You saw the painting, and so forth. He's accepting that service. So similarly, giving diksha is another service. Reciprocation with service for service. It's just a transcendental or a spiritual exchange. Dipani Muni also understood, and eventually, that Krishna is the personality of Godhead. It's okay. He gave him mantra. He wanted mantra. But the mantra was first given to Ishwara Puri by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in that sense, he was initiated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But he gave the mantra to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his Diksha Guru. Okay? It's a loving exchange, that's all. Love is not necessarily ruled by reason. It's ruled by the heart. Someone else?
have about 12 participants from local Connecticut and Zoom call also.
Okay, good. Now, have I met some of you either at the temple or in Gita Nagari? Have some of you been to the retreats that we conduct? You've been? Yeah, yeah. I recognized you when we came in. So for those of you that don't know, with the exception of the pandemic, we've been conducting events, gatherings, retreats at our farm community in mid-Pennsylvania. The farm community is Gita Nagari. Has some nice history, but without the nice history, it's a very nice project. And some large number of cows, nicely protected and cared for, etc. And forested area and activities for children, and then temple room. The temple room was built from the trees on the property. It had feeling. It's really nice and natural. And a few hundred people commonly come to attend. So the kirtans are really lively. And then there's time to the kids go canoeing and milk the cows, and they do different things in the community, in the area, Tuscarora Creek, and so forth. So if you're able to come, you're invited, personal invitation. The topic this year is going to be lessons from Ramayana. Doing 3 speakers. I'm one of the 3. And the other 2 speakers are up to here in Ramayana. They love Ramayana. And they're very knowledgeable. I'm sure their speaking will be very nice. The deities that are there are celebrated deities. Those of you that know a little bit about ISKCON's history, there was a period of time when there was a traveling bus program, 5, 6 buses crisscrossed around America, doing Sankirtan in public places, and then distributing books. And the deities on the main bus were the Radha Damodar deities. And when the bus program wound down, the deities went to Gita Nagari. So it's a really nice place. So if you can, Memorial Day weekend, and some promotion will be sent around after some time. And if you can. And your kids will be happy. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Mahaprabhu